Welcome to Zoo Nation, where we talk about history as it unfolds and discuss the political zoo of a nation that we're living in. My name is Josh.
I'm Nathan.
We're here to talk to you about some big stories about the Biden house. I mean, nothing big going on right now,
Yeah.
right? This past weekend as well, big story. The the story that y'all have all been talking about. For those of you catching this on audio, I'll wipe my nose. I mean, there's a couple of working theories on the cocaine that was found in the White House. I mean, of course, no one's surprised about this. Karine Jean-Pierre has said nothing about it. Or basically, her answers are non-answers. But there's a couple of theories here, and I wanted to legitimately get your take on this. This could have been what it most obviously is, Hunter Biden's cocaine.
Yeah.
That's number one.
Thanks,
Number
Doc.
two, it could have been someone that worked there. And number three, I actually brought this up to some friends, is I wonder, and actually there's an article I have pulled up that says this actually could have been a drug deal. Like someone in the White House and or the Biden family could have been holding this drug. I mean, it could have come in from the border, man. People with our border as wide open as it is, they could have come all the way to the White House by truck or what have you.
No question.
And they could have been holding it on hand, and of course, I'm sure Hunter took a hit. But after that,
It also could be the things that is helping Biden even stay afloat.
I had that thought.
Which would explain so
you
much.
know, I was like, I wonder if that's why sometimes he's a little bit more lucid. Maybe
Yeah.
it's helping him a little bit. I
And,
don't know.
and it could be a stutter too sometimes because just that man is zooming.
Yep.
I mean, he's going too fast
Did
for
you
his mouth.
see that Joe Biden that passed me? Did you catch the license plate on that Joe Biden that passed me? So yeah, I mean, no, really, he's like an old Model T just barely going down the road.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's most obviously Hunter Biden, but
Yeah.
possibly, I mean, you just mentioned it, I mean, possibly also Joe. Or it could have been for a drug deal that they were going to conduct and or someone at the White House that was going to do. So we want to hear in the comments section. Comments really help us out here. Please like this video. We don't ever ask y'all that, but it helps the algorithm, and commenting also does too. Comment so that it helps the algorithm, but also, guys, give us some feedback on what you think of the stories that we cover, including right now. Who do you think it was for? Do you think it was the White House getting ready to do a deal? Do you think it was Hunter? Or what do you think that it was? I mean, I guess we'll go with you. Which of the three scenarios do you think is most likely?
I mean, it was more than likely Hunter Biden's. Apparently, they've ordered, DNA testing or testing for it, forensics and everything. So, are you ready for the next big news story as far as it's whatever, we had the aliens were real, and now we had the Titanic thing.
Yes.
And so, what's next? Well, the sun explodes. I don't know. That would suck. I mean, or the sun may explode in 10 years. Who knows? Like, that's the next story. Who knows?
Superman.
All we know is we're not going to find it out.
Superman exists.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Yeah, so Superman exists. That's the next big story. It's going to be Hunter Biden's, but we're never going to find that out. Well, we will, because it'll still be there in the news, but it'll be covered by some bigger story. Bigger story. What bigger story is going to be than one of our own people in the probably the highest branch has cocaine and drugs in office? What higher story? I mean, Russia has nukes and are threatening to press the button. Okay, yeah, I can see that.
What's new?
Yeah, exactly. What's new though? So I mean, I don't know. Like, yeah, you got to come up with a pretty big story. Like, yeah. So that's my theory. We're not going to hear they're not going to continue to cover this or as in depth. It'll be, hey, King Kong's real. And by the way, Hunter Biden had cocaine. Back to you on the, no. So.
Back to you on how well the economy's doing.
Exactly. So, and the cocaine business. But, yeah. So, I mean, no. Yeah, that's my theory. And more than likely, I'll probably be right on that
I
one.
wonder what the story would be legitimately, because the whole submersible thing, I mean, we're only talking, you and I haven't actually talked about it because it was clearly a distraction. We've only talked about it in terms of it being a distraction.
Yeah.
And that's for a reason. I mean, right when it comes out that there's All right, let me get my numbers right. 15 recordings of Hunter Biden and 2 of Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Possibly about a $5 million bribe. Then the submersible story comes out, and this is kind of the point you're making.
And they lied about that too.
There's a whole lot going on
Yeah.
there. They're still talking about it. I saw a video. I didn't get to watch much of it of Matt Gaetz talking to Christopher Wray of the FBI, the director of the FBI. I've seen his deputy director talking to the House and then the Senate.
Right.
But anyway, Well, let me ask you this: Representative Fallon, probably not related to Jimmy Fallon, to Newsmax. That'd be funny if he was.
Right.
White House may know cocaine possessor. So before I even pull it up and read,
They do know.
I was going to ask, do you think so? How could they not?
Yeah, I mean, it didn't just. Do we still have?
We don't know where it came from.
Is the White House still open to like visitors? Like as far as like aside from media. Right?
Interesting question.
Aside from media, is the White House still open to like the general public?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it is anymore.
I wonder if it's because the president is the most popular president ever.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
That's why.
So it's like
He would be swarmed with so many fans.
yeah, exactly. Plus, it was found in the West Wing, right? Which I know is not.
It's forbidden.
Yeah, that's not open to the general public at least. So there's no way that the general public was just in there, looking at all their sites and it somehow stumbled in the West Wing.
Dude
No.
has a pound of coke shoved up his jacket and just drops it.
Hey.
Oops.
I mean, who knows? But hey, for all you know, it could have been Hunter's dealer. Who knows that had that access?
Actually, could have been.
Exactly.
No
But-
kidding. No kidding.
So it's definitely somebody within the White House. It's not like a general public. I doubt it's somebody in the media just because, again, West Wing.
Tubin.
Yeah, right. Like yeah. And if it is somebody in the media, it's somebody on CNN. I'm calling it now. If it's somebody in the media, it's CNN.
Did you see the horrible? This is not something we even talked about in the prep. That someone got fired, I kid you not, from the BBC for contacting a teen for naked pictures.
Good. They should have gotten
that
fired.
person has been fired, but has not been named, and
They should name
there's
that person.
not anything being said about whether there's an investigation.
Wow, that's crazy.
So it's really weird. It's like, I'm sorry. If I lived near these people, if my parents were letting me as a little boy play possibly anywhere near this person, I would want to know.
Oh yeah.
Because this person does not need to be around minors at all.
Yep.
I mean, I'm just saying that was a very corrupt thing.
Yep.
And now we got this. And speaking of media scandals, I mean, you brought up the press, and that's what brought it to my mind.
Yep.
But no, I mean, regarding the story, I think that the White House is like, how could they not?
Right.
They know who's got a shady background. They've got cameras. How do they not know who put this here? Of course they do.
They do. They'll just do the political thing and lie.
The White House may already know whose cocaine was found in the West Wing Library. The West Wing Library was given to Bell, so I mean, remember that?
Yeah.
The Beast gave Bell the West Wing Library. Different West Wing. It's a place typically reserved for senior administration officials or those close to President Joe Biden. Texas Republican Representative Pat Fallon, so not Jimmy Fallon, told Newsmax on Saturday. That would be really funny. I mean, in today's clown world, if Jimmy Fallon became someone in public office, would be really funny. Repeating,
I mean, that's the way it's kind of supposed to work, though.
yeah,
I mean,
ruled by clown.
well,
Reacting
not that. I'm talking just
I am.
ruled by, we the people.
Yeah.
So anybody's supposed to be able to get that, not just lawyers and everybody
Well,
else.
Nathan, everyone can, but not everyone should.
Well, yeah, okay, but
All we gotta do is look
Point
at,
is
look
everybody
at the
can.
I'll look at the president and know that.
well, yeah, not
Re-
everybody should, but everybody can.
Reacting to a clip from Deputy White House Press Secretary Andrew Bates, who cited the Hatch Act as a reason to keep quiet about the matter, Fallon told The Count, which is a show, that the Hatch Act is about federal employees engaging in campaign activities. That has absolutely nothing to do with cocaine or illicit drugs at all.
I was just about to ask that.
Yeah, so I don't know. They're nervous, and they might already know who it belongs to. We don't know yet, but we're going to find out. And that person needs to be fired immediately, or if it's a family member, their access needs to be revoked forthwith.
And impeachment.
Yep. White House spokesperson, not spokeswoman, Karine Jean-Pierre told reporters earlier this week.
Wow, I just realized.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, pretty much.
Where this was discovered is a heavily traveled area where many West Wing advisors and visitors come through. Asked whether anyone had undergone drug testing as part of the investigation, Jean-Pierre said, "We will take any action that is appropriate and
Hunter
warranted."
didn't undergo any of it, guaranteed.
Of course not. "We will take any action that is appropriate and warranted pending the outcome of Secret Service. Possession of cocaine, which is classified as a Schedule II drug under the U.S. Controlled Substance Act, is a misdemeanor in Washington, D.C." So it's a misdemeanor. No one's going to face...
Joe Biden is a misdemeanor in Washington, D.C. too. So
Yes, he is. Especially for, having that for a son. But
That's a fact.
Anyway, yeah, I mean, to your point, it's like, how in the world could these people not know? I mean, there's got to be footage. Here's the thing, too, that people should think about. Think of all the stuff that's been buried, that's been covered up, like you mentioned with the aforementioned, we have these recordings coming out. Oh, look at the submersible over here. Then it's just like, number one, there's going to be a distraction if this really, that will be the next thing.
That'd be cool, though.
In this day and time,
that'd get my attention.
at this day and time, with so much weird scientific experimentation, I actually wouldn't be
It wouldn't
surprised.
shock me, no.
They're talking about trying to bring back the mastodon and the dinosaur.
Yeah.
So I could
Also the
imagine
woolly
them. Yeah, that's what I saw. I said mastodon was actually the woolly mammoth.
Yeah.
I could actually imagine someone like injecting something and it turning into like an undead zombie, and then they biting a human, and then it turns into
That'd
a
be
zombie.
kind of cool, though. Not gonna lie.
Well,
We get to live in Walking Dead, but hey, cool in the sense of like
it'd be
get to live in a video game.
I was gonna say it would definitely liven up the local Thursday evening.
Exactly.
But it would be interesting.
It's
like
when politics don't matter anymore.
yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, we already have one of them leading the country.
Yeah, exactly.
We have a zombie leading the country.
Yeah, you got
so
a point. Yeah.
they just wouldn't even bite him. They'd be like, and he'd be like, then they just walk off.
Yep. You're not wrong.
So and then Fetterman would be like their leader. Fetterman would be their alpha. They would all be like, we follow this one.
Dang.
So yeah, that would be what they would do because he speaks their language better than any of them. So yeah, we're gonna have the sources in the comment section for you guys. Let us know. Does the White House know? There has been another spokesperson. This is actually supposedly one of Representative Senator Johnson to Newsmax is saying that there's a cover-up happening on White House cocaine. Another good example of a politician stating the obvious. Right? It's like, wow, really? These people are covering something up?
Now do something about it.
Yeah, exactly. So
that's the thing, man. Republicans are so good at that.
they are.
Like, let's state the obvious. I can do that too, man. I'd be a great Republican.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I'd be an even better Republican just in the sense of I'd actually do, yeah. But anyway, no, I mean, they're great at that. Like, let's state the obvious, but then do nothing about it. Like,
You're a much better Republican already because you're not Lindsey Graham.
well, yeah.
So, I mean, you're already like 3 laps ahead. So, you're 100 laps
Yeah, and
ahead.
I don't have sexual relationships with men.
Yeah, that too.
Even though that's never been proven, I know. Don't fact check me, YouTube. It's a joke.
He's been single since John McCain died.
Yeah, exactly. He's been single before that. Well,
Yeah, well, no.
you got a point.
He-
Yeah.
that's what I
Yeah,
meant.
yeah.
That's what
okay.
I meant. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, to your point, I remember at one point, this was right when Trump got arrested. Glenn Beck, one of the Tucker Carlson show, and he just asked, he said a lot of other stuff too, but his big one that really resonated with me was, where are the Republicans? And this is the ultimate question. Whenever we have something like this going on with the White House investigation,
Doing
White House
cocaine too.
doing nothing. Yeah, that's right. More likely, they're like, hey, where'd you find that?
Well, dude,
Asking for a friend, where'd you find that?
that's one of the reasons that, like, how we've talked about, like, term limits, and I think you and I kind of agree on term limits for the most part.
Overall.
But, and there's been people that are like, yeah, term limits. One of the reasons that they don't leave is because I've heard the statement. I forgot who it came from, but the statement is you get to Congress thinking it's a cesspool, and you find out it's a hot tub. So why not stay in the hot tub as long as possible, man?
I haven't heard that. That's great.
Yeah, so it's like, yeah, I want to stay in the hot tub and relax the rest of my life and everything. Like, yeah, I mean, I think it's wrong. Don't get me wrong, but can you necessarily blame them for enjoying life or whatever? I mean, no, I guess, but yes, at the same time.
Well, it's what they're doing, It's,
yeah,
it's
exactly.
the way they're going
it's what
about.
it's what they're doing while they chill. Yeah.
So the White House has changed its story several times. This is from the Ron Johnson article to Newsmax. He says cover-up has happened on the White House cocaine. The White House has changed its story several times on the cocaine found there last Sunday, which shows the Biden administration's permissive attitude and that there is once again a cover-up of some wrongdoing going on. Senator Ron Johnson told Newsmax Saturday. You would think there are surveillance cameras all around the place, the Wisconsin Republican. You know, I didn't even read all of this article, and I came up with that when I was talking to you. So, I mean, it's common sense. We'll just put it that way.
So we're just as smart as a senator? That's
well,
crazy.
I think we're smarter.
Probably.
You would think there are surveillance cameras all over the place. He said he's in Wisconsin. I couldn't think where he was. I know exactly where they are. We're in contact with the Secret Service. We're getting no response whatsoever from the Secret Service in terms of what investigatory steps they're taking.
I want proof that you're trying to contact the Secret Service.
So that's number one. And number two, I find it hard. So if the Secret Service are truly saying that they may actually be doing a legitimate investigation because they're so-called a third party, they may be covering for the Biden family. It really could go either way. It probably depends on the individual agent that's answering the phone.
That's actually one area for the most part that I actually do kind of trust is the Secret Service. And maybe that's just because I do listen to Dan Bongino and just what he's said, about the Secret Service and how they operate and everything. So, for the most part, yeah, I would actually kind of trust the Secret Service more than
more than anything.
Yeah, more than anything. Yeah, but anything is possible.
That's a low bar. But
yeah, any cover up is possible. But
yeah,
I don't know. I trust the Secret Service, and I'm using that lightly, but not as lightly when I say I trust the FBI. You get my point though.
Johnson said he's not surprised he's gotten no response from the Secret Service as the bureaucrats in these agencies ignore Congress. They get sworn in, they get confirmed, they raise their hands and say they're going to comply with any legitimate congressional oversight, and then they get into office and they simply don't because we have very limited enforcement powers, said Johnson. So we do need to beef it up and strengthen Congress's oversight capabilities. So here's the thing. That goes against what you're saying, but that said, if you're in Congress, you are power hungry. He could just want more power.
See, I was about to say that kind of I don't like that statement of we need to. What exactly did he?
We need more oversight.
Yeah, we need more oversight. No.
I don't think so.
Yes and no. At least for this in particular situation, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as that sounds like, hey, we need legislation. No, stop.
Unfortunately,
you don't.
when you have that,
in order to do it, yes, you need legislation.
Hard, right, but what I'm saying is if they were to, then you politicize protecting the president's life, and that doesn't really need to be a political issue. That needs to just be a job.
Oh.
A job like stacking crates or carrying water to players that are hot when you're at a football game. That's a job that you do or you don't do. I mean, that does not really... I mean, there's things that do require political, law, and that's what Congress does. So I don't really want to see one more agency get corrupted by politics. And maybe if he's right, it already is, but if he's wrong, he will then be corrupting it.
Yeah.
So that's what you're kind of saying is we got to be very careful about doing anything about that.
Pretty much.
Because to your point, I would trust them more than any other agency. I really would.
100%.
Not to say that they're flawless because they're not,
they're
but
human.
I mean, one thing that comes up in recent memory was the whole thing about Trump lunged for the Secret Service guy driving the car's wheel. And the Secret Service said, all right, if you want to push this, we will testify, which we have never done, and say, no, that did not happen.
Plus, imagine lunging at a Secret Service guy.
Yeah.
Trump within himself. But, just imagine one of us lunging, no shot. And you're going to say Trump did it? No, I'm sorry.
No, I don't think it would have.
No.
That would be, that's...
Mr. President, I will mess you up.
Yeah, that would be really funny. Just imagine he's from New York, too. He's like, Mr. President, you back the F off before I knock you back on your ass. Or
exactly,
something like that.
yeah.
It'd be really funny. But, that would have been... If he'd done that, I think Trump might have been, kind of cowed. All right. I'm sorry about
Wrong.
that. Here, leans in. Wrong.
Bro,
I'm the president.
Mess you up.
I'll mess you up too. I fought in WWE, remember? Even
man.
Hulk Hogan says I have the most beautiful hands.
Yeah.
He would totally say that. He'd make something up. It would be really funny to see that. But the other thing, and we're waiting for the source to pull up on this one, but you sent me this. Nathan, what do you think we need to do about global warming?
not a dang thing, because in my personal opinion, like, sure, like, look, do I believe we need, like, pollution is a bad thing? Yes, but, like, humans do not affect the environment to the extent of what the left wants to make it. And that is why we have global warming, global freezing, global cooling, climate change now, because they couldn't get it right with global warming, global freezing, and everything else, you know. And that's why every time that, like, oh, the world will end in 10 years if we don't do X, Y, and Z for, you know, climate change and everything else, they have to change it.
10 years later.
Exactly. And it's like, oh, well, no, we meant 10 years after the 10 years. Like, it's like, that's not how that works. So, no, I don't buy into any of it, for one. So, do we need to do anything? No. Do we need to fix, like, you know, for example, the giant trash heaps out in the ocean? Yeah, 100%. I mean, because that's actually damaging, like, reefs and stuff like that. But as far as, is it changing our climate? Is it affecting, you know, us to the mass scale that everybody says? No. Mm-hmm. Like, I just don't buy it. The science does not back that up.
I'm with you. The other, I told you this already a while ago. It's in Glenn Beck's book, The Great Reset, The Rise, and you've listened to this, The Rise of 21st Century Fascism by Glenn Beck. He talks about, there's a chapter about global warming and climate change in it, and also in his book, Arguing with Socialists. And it's in The Great Reset book, where he talks about, it varies, I think it's 33% of adults in the U.S. believe that climate change is going to lead to human extinction. And I think it's like 38% of people that are like 25 and younger, so something like that. So, I mean, that's not just climate change leading to the temperature rising.
And this is also causing people not to have kids.
Yeah, that's right. Well, maybe
like, no, seriously,
in some cases, that might be a good thing.
Well, yeah, no, I
agree,
but...
I mean, not for, whatever. The thing is, like, not just, oh, it's going to make the temperature go up. Like, literally, they think it's going to cause human, like, not American, not some countries, human extinction. I mean, this is the level of irrationality that people have. Yeah, like the entire human population will just die because of people throwing, plastic into the trash can. Like, and again, to your point, I mean, I recycle as much as I can. Yeah. I am all for no longer sending stuff into the ocean.
It actually affects animals, et cetera,
exactly.
Et cetera.
Yeah. I think I'll go this far. The Republican Party needs to talk about that more.
Oh yeah.
I think that what the pitch could ultimately be: you want to do something about the environment, put your money where your mouth is. Don't vote for the new Green Deal, the Green New Deal. Instead, let's have an initiative and let's lead it in recycling more and doing something about the trash out here, Let's send the Coast Guard out and take care of it. Or let's send nonprofits out and let's take care of it.
Exactly.
I think, that would be a really cool, popular position that I think would get a lot of votes because I think it'd be bipartisan. And truly bipartisan, since I think a lot of people would be like...
And potentially a way to create jobs, too.
There's that. And so, that's a really good point. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that, I will say, the Republican Party is too quiet about that. They either tend to go along with the left or they say, oh, it's not happening at all. And I'm with you that it's not happening to the extent that they say it is.
Yeah.
But I do think, regardless, I mean, we were told when we were put here, Adam and Eve, that they were supposed to tend the garden, and by that it means work, and you are the steward of it. So you would agree with this. We're supposed to steward the earth, and that means, if you're
God, we don't make it rain.
Exactly, yeah. So I mean, that said, we got to make sure we put stuff and treat the world well.
Exactly.
And responsibly, but also not in a way where it kills the economy, and not in a way where it gives the government totalitarian power. This is the thing about the new Green Deal, is it will give the government so much power about what car you drive, whether there's a plane or not. There's talk about outlawing cruises because cruises put out way more emissions than even an airplane. I mean, just asinine stuff.
But the billionaires can do it. And
right.
The millionaires can do it.
And they can do it on their way to tell you not to do it.
Exactly.
Hey, stop polluting the atmosphere, guys.
As I'm on my boat.
Yes. On the plane or the boat, exactly.
The only thing I will say, I'll get behind this stuff if they can find a way to make it a lot less hot, because doing my job, man, sometimes I buy into the global warming stuff. If they can find a way to make it a lot less hot, I'd be cool.
Literally.
Yeah.
White House cautiously. So you went into solutions. The reason I mentioned this is in your wildest dreams when it comes to curbing global warming or climate change. would you ever say, you know what, Josh, I figured it out. We're going to make Ultron a shield around the world, but to protect the world not from aliens, the Chitauri, but from the sun.
Wait, what would you get? Would you get behind the? We're gonna protect the world from aliens, though, more
No.
than this.
Well, more than that, yeah.
You think so? Yeah.
Yeah, more than blocking the sun. I mean, that at least hypothetically would be like, okay, I don't know if that's the right way to go about this, but it makes more sense than building a shield around the world to block the sun.
Yeah. No, I sorry. I agree. It's just, oh man, this is crazy. I mean, because in school, you know, at least I don't know about you, but in school I was taught, you know, if the sun was too far or too close, a little more too far, a little more too close, it would have been, you know, either a frozen Earth, which no human life could have inhabited, or it would have been a scorched Earth, in which no human life could inhabit. So therefore, God put it in the right spot to where none of the above happens, and it's perfect for, you know, humans, right? So blocking the sun sounds like a terrible idea and a good way to either freeze or well, in this case, yeah, it would be freeze. So yeah, a good way to potentially try to freeze or kill off more people. That's what it sounds like to me personally. How successful this is going to be? Probably none, in my opinion. But it's just another stupid ideas in Biden's book of stupid anyway. Yeah, this is crazy. Like, hey, to combat global warming, I'm assuming this stuff would go into space, right? More than likely.
So we'll get into that, but there's a number of ideas being discussed. One such thing, and I kid you not, I'll read the exact quote, is, hey guys, we got a great idea.
No boy.
We're going to spray aerosols into the air, and then it'll reflect the sun back and it back out.
No, that's a good way to suffocate people. Also, have you ever heard of this thing called asthma?
Yes, there's literally a line where it says, experts are bringing up that this may be bad for air pollution. It's like, well, we're very glad you're here to tell us these things.
I wonder what gave you that one, stupid.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think it's just called having, you know, two brain cells to run together.
And yet it takes at least a bachelor's degree to become a scientist.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Bullcrap.
Yeah. So, White House cautiously, this is for those of you who are wondering what we're talking about.
Cautiously.
White House, cautiously opens the door to study blocking sun's rays to slow global warming. I was wondering what the title was, then it dawned on me. A Biden administration report required by Congress outlines research options for a last-ditch effort to slow the heating of the planet, but the White House says it's not changing its climate strategy. So, guys, we're not doing it now.
But
Now, the White House offered measured support for the idea, measured, not an inappropriate amount of attention, just measured support for the idea of studying how to block sunlight from hitting Earth's surface as a way to limit global warming in a congressionally mandated report that could help bring efforts once confined to science fiction into the realm of legitimate debate.
our tax dollars are going into studies on how to kill us.
Yes, exactly. Well, we already knew that.
I wasn't even joking.
That was true.
That's a
Yeah,
sad thing.
That is true, yeah. The controversial concept known as solar radiation modification is a potentially effective response to fighting climate change,
No.
but one that could have unknown side effects stemming from altering the chemical makeup of the atmosphere.
And like killing people.
Some scientists say the White House...
Any actual scientist would say, hey, not a good idea.
The White House report released late Friday indicates that the Biden administration is open to studying the possibility that altering sunlight might quickly cool the planet, but it added a degree of skepticism by noting that Congress has ordered the review, and the administration said it does not signal any new policy decisions related to a process that is sometimes referred to or derided as geoengineering, a program of research into the scientific and societal implications of solar radiation modification would enable better informed decisions about the potential risks and benefits of SRM as a component.
There's no benefits.
Yeah, as a component of climate policy alongside the foundational elements of greenhouse gas mitigation and adaptation. The White House report said SRM offers the possibility of cooling the planet significantly on a timescale of a few years. Still, the White House said in a statement accompanying
Ice Age.
Yeah, still the White House said in a statement accompanying the report, There are no plans underway to establish a comprehensive research program focused on solar radiation modification. Skeptically or not, that the White House weighed in on solar experimentation at all is remarkable. The concept has created division among experts, with some saying it could take a last line of defense against runaway warming if nations fail to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions, while others warn that it could result in an atmospheric substance dependency that, if stopped, could lead to abrupt increases in temperature. So basically, if you cool the Earth off for a time and then reheat it, it'll be hotter than it would have been anyway. So it may,
I'd love that.
so yeah, you'd go from a 90-degree day to a 70-degree day in the summer to a 120-degree day in the summer, basically.
Yay.
So
So every place will be Texas.
yes. The fact that this report even exists is probably the most consequential component of this release, said, I'm going to try that name, Sushi Talati, the executive director of the Alliance for Just Deliberation on Solar and Geoengineering, a nonprofit that seeks to include developing countries in the debate over solar modification. This report also signals that the U.S. government is supportive of well-governed research, including outdoor experimentation, which I think is quite significant.
And stupid.
The report, which was required by Congress in a policy report accompanying the 2022 appropriations bill, was released the same week that European leaders opened the door to international discussions of solar radiation modification. So think about this. The EU, a globalist organization, opens up a discussion. Then, by sheer coincidence, Congress is like, we're going to talk about this. It also followed a call by more than 60 leading scientists to increase research on the topic. And then it goes on to say, I'm going to try and find, here we go. One include either increasing cloud cover over the oceans or reducing the amount of high-flying cirrus clouds which reflect solar radiation back to Earth. There are risks associated, Nathan, with each form of solar radiation modification, the report said, that can affect human health, biodiversity, and geopolitics. That's because, get this, modifying sunlight could alter global weather patterns.
Oh, really?
Disrupt food supplies.
Oh, really?
Did you know that it takes sunlight to grow food?
Yeah, and it probably will screw up a lot of animals that
Yeah.
we like to eat.
Yeah. And lead to abrupt warming if the practices were widely deployed and then halted.
Oh, really?
It also wouldn't address air pollution from fossil fuels or ocean acidification, a major threat to coral reefs ecosystems, you kind of mentioned this earlier, driven by the overabundance of carbon in the air and seas. So yeah, that's really the story. But yeah, when I read the part about food, I'm like, I learned at a very young age, like less than 6 years old, that a plant needs sunlight to grow. And so it's like, wow, guys, you're right. If we try to block the sun, maybe corn and wheat and stuff like that won't grow.
Have bug burgers now.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, maybe that's what they're going for. Maybe they're trying to say.
Yes, this is
and
all
even,
for the billionaires
and
and Bill Gates and everything else.
Yeah. And I'm sure that they're going to have sun on their land.
Probably.
They'll find a way to block it to everyone else and not them.
Precisely.
They'll go on their island, no longer Epstein Island, but Clinton Island, whatever it's called now. And that's where they'll have their, their party where they eat the real food and where we're giving our bug burgers and told to shut up and vote Democrat next election. So, yeah.
Per usual.
And then the Republicans are like, well, we'll only give you half your diet will be bugs. Thank us for our service.
Exactly.
So, yeah, that's the story there. And you sent me this. Were you surprised?
First, I'm gonna be honest. I thought I was reading something the Babylon Bee said.
Yeah.
Put out. I'm not even gonna lie.
Me too.
I thought it was the Babylon Bee.
Me too.
Because I was just scrolling through Instagram at the time, and I was like, which is not where I get all my news, by the way. But yeah, like just scrolling through.
You did send me a really weird Abraham Lincoln quote.
Oh well, yeah, exactly. But it's like.
I did not think he was gonna say that about slavery.
Yeah, 100%.
I thought he freed the slaves.
Boy, you really gonna get me in trouble for something I didn't even do. But yeah, like no, I'm just scrolling. I thought it was the Babylon Bee, and then I read link in our bio, and I'm like, wait a minute, and so I clicked the link, and it's like, oh my goodness, this is real, and so I started looking at it, and it's like. So yeah, I actually was shocked.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny at first, and then
I
it's
had
like,
the
this
same-
isn't funny anymore.
When you texted me first before you sent me the link and said Biden plans to block the sun I thought, what? I didn't even know what that meant when you said block the sun.
Yeah, what do you mean block the sun? Well, exactly what I just said.
we have that. It's in a bottle. You put it on you to go to the beach,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you know that's what you got to do to block
However,
the
now I
sun.
will say I'm against that though too. Me personally.
You're for skin cancer.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm for SPF. I'm not for rubbing it all over your skin. Like you can.
You're for what?
Like SPF. You know the.
Sun Bateman Freed.
Like the. Yes. But no, like I'm just not for rubbing sunscreen all over your skin. They make shirts that have SPF protection and everything. That like yeah, I'm for that stuff. Just not because rubbing it into your skin is just as bad as putting it in your mouth. If it says don't put it in your mouth, but you can rub it on your skin.
Well, okay, that's a very.
You get my point.
That's a very good point.
That's just. And there's look at the chemicals and stuff on there. I'm not trying to start some conspiracy theory. This is just my personal belief. You know, you do you. I care about you, but like I don't care what you do as far as that goes. But no, I'm just saying, if you shouldn't put it in your mouth, again, you got pores and everything. Where do you think it goes when it goes under your skin and everything? It doesn't just stay there.
Of course.
You know, so that's just my whole thing behind it, and I've looked at some studies with it too. So
That would explain a lot of what's wrong with Fetterman.
yeah,
Not Fetterman. He had an actual stroke, but yeah, AOC or Kamala Harris.
yeah, pretty much. But yeah, that's so. Yeah, I'm against that stuff too. But blocking the sun, terrible idea.
A new one. I never thought I was going to hear. Hey guys, we have a plan. Now the other thing is, I don't know if you've seen this, but Democrats are just finding out that sailboats exist.
Nice.
You do. They've been posting, literally tweeting and saying it may come to a point where we have our ships driven by the wind instead of by motors to cut on carbon emissions.
And they know that.
And then people are commenting like, the Mayflower and all those other
And
old-timey
they also know that all sailboats, unless like somebody made one by themselves or whatever, but all like manufactured sailboats still come with a motor, just in case that this weird thing happens that there's no freaking wind.
So that's number one, and number two, the next thing after that is going to be you're driving
Artificial wind. Artificial wind, right?
Yes.
That's what you're gonna say. Is the answer?
Well, blocking the sun and artificial wind. Yeah. So no, I was gonna say. Then it's gonna be okay. Don't use a motor that uses gas or diesel or whatever. Use a green one, and then those are lithium, and those are horrible for the environment too. So it's a whole snake that eats its tail. They're really, you're grabbing $1 and handing it to someone. They're giving you a nickel back. I mean, you're trying to say, let's save the world. Here, we're going to use lithium, and then you're like poisoning the water. Had a guy make the point too, because I mean, eventually it ends up polluting the water, and again, we need to stop that from happening. But basically, trading air for water, that's what's going on.
I'm gonna go Glenn Beck here. Can we do something? Can we like go nuclear, or at least, and I mean actual nuclear? Like not the saying, but
yeah,
but
no,
can
I heard
we,
that. Yeah.
At least study wise, because I understand people's concerns about nuclear energy and everything else, but the studies that we do have, nuclear would power way more than anything that we currently have. Like coal and everything else. Like it powers. I'm gonna say 10 times, but that's not the precise.
Real.
Yeah, that's not the real statistic or whatever. But yeah, it powers 10 times more than coal. Solar, everything else. We know it works with better than wind and everything else. Wind power is probably the worst. Wind power is the worst. Because on the days that you have no wind, well, you're out of luck.
What you gonna do?
Yeah, exactly. So that is crap. Also, the amount of oil that is put in the windmills is ridiculous as well.
I did just think, if they did block the sun, then the solar people would be pretty mad.
Yeah, this is.
What are they gonna do?
Oh, dude,
that'll be
a
snake
salesperson.
Yeah.
Oh man, that would suck.
Yeah.
But no. Can we explore an option that actually is potentially actually reasonable for the environment too? Nuclear, from at least the small studies that we do have, isn't that dangerous to the environment either. Again, yes, there's potential of nuclear explosion and everything else. We understand that, but there's risk with everything. If it's gonna actually do the things that you want, why not do it?
Yep.
And take the high risk, high reward.
Yep.
Type thing. Now, if it's at risk of, there's a chance that if this goes wrong, the whole planet goes down. Well, okay, maybe we don't take that high risk, high reward type thing. But if it's there's a chance that if this blows up or if this goes wrong, well, the factory won't function anymore. Okay, we can take that risk. I don't know.
We should have like nuclear power plants for the entire country underneath Washington D.C.
Works for me.
That's
and
all-
California,
Yes, there you go. That's even better.
Oregon too.
Yes.
Hey.
Well, speaking of all this craziness going on the Democrat side, again, I ask, where are the Republicans fighting this?
No way.
And the question is, where's the leadership? To be fair, with the delaying of the raising of the debt ceiling, I think I said this last episode, McCarthy delayed longer than I thought he was going to. Now, I had a very low bar for him, and he cleared that bar, and look, that's still not good enough.
And the Republicans still didn't do what they said they were going to do.
Yes.
They haven't gotten rid of him. So
Yes, that's exactly right.
holding out is not doing what you said you were going to do.
Yes, and so I mean the question is, I think we're both on the same page that we need new leadership, and that means McCarthy needs to go. That means we're not voting for Lindsey Graham. That means we're not voting for Chris Christie. Even in the general.
Have we been voting for these guys though?
No, I'm just saying
okay.
we're not. We're this
was like, wait, when have
platform.
you done
Zoo
this?
No, never, never. Zoo Nation is not saying that you guys should vote for these people. Y'all ultimately have the decision, but these do not align with our values. So when it comes to an investigation being open into Hunter Biden, we've got Chris Christie decided to open his mouth and say the Delaware
Not for a donut?
the Delaware Hunter Biden investigation was either a lie or incompetent. 2024 presidential candidate Chris Christie took a break from talking about Donald Trump. That's actually a pretty savage comment. To comment on Hunter Biden's plea deal. That's all he's talking about. Chris Christie said that U.S. Attorney Weiss has to explain himself, and he has to explain himself in public. The fact is that this investigation of Hunter Biden in Delaware is either a lie or it's incompetent. There's no way they could take 5 years to get a 2-count misdemeanor tax plea and then to dismiss the gun charges. Those gun charges carry up to a 10-year sentence to lie on the application. The Democrats are crying and complaining all the time about wanting more gun laws, yet they won't even enforce the gun laws that exist, and Hunter Biden shouldn't even have had one to begin with. He makes a claim about Merrick Garland not telling the truth. So, yeah, you've got Lindsey Graham's best buddy, I'm sure, behind closed doors.
Breast buddy?
No, I didn't say that. Best buddy, Lindsey Graham, best buddy, Chris Christie. They're cut from the same cloth.
Yeah.
If you had the two of them along with John McCain, you'd have the Three Stooges. So, they get around with freaking Biden, and then and then Fetterman, and then they have the Addams family is what they look like. Except for Harris is a lot uglier than Morticia. But, that's the situation you got. And what's going to happen? Again, you got Christie talking, but what's he actually going to do? He's not talking about if I become president, there's going to be a crackdown. There's going to be, and by crack, I don't mean cocaine. A crackdown of figuring out what's going on with these drugs in the White House or anything like that. There's nothing like that. And the thing is, why? Because if he says that and then doesn't do it, then he's going to be held accountable in some form or fashion. At least someone in conservative media will say, President Christie, you promised to do this. He has no shot at the White House. I'm just saying that's why he's not making the promise. Because there's no way that he holds to it at all. So, I don't know. I think Christie goes nowhere. I don't know. He says that in a critical...
He goes to Krispy Kreme.
He says that in a critical statement on Hunter Biden because of the fact that it earns him some kind of brownie points, no pun intended,
You know what I want?
with the audience. What's up?
No, I'll say it. No, never mind. That's,
Okay, un-PC, worse than my Lincoln
no,
joke?
no, it's not bad at all. It's I'll just save that for the end.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I thought you were going to say off air.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
Okay, so, you got that. So other than some comments made about a Hunter Biden investigation, talk, which again, what we got is talk, where are the calls for fire Christopher Wray? Where are the calls for get rid of Deputy Director Abate of the FBI so that there can be an actual investigation of the Biden crime family? There's nothing of that. And, at some point, yeah, Biden would have to be the one to do that, but at least the Senate could do things to actually, make the FBI a little bit more accountable. Now, what would they do? That's a difficult battle because what do you do with an agency that is in the executive branch when you guys are in the legislative branch? To that, I would turn to our founding documents and our founders who believed in separation of powers. The concept, it really goes back to me to ancient Greece and ancient Rome, but especially Rome, where they had two consuls. And the idea was if both men fight against each other, neither one will become a tyrant. It's when you have one where you get dictatorship. And so the concept, at least in theory, is you have an executive branch, a legislative branch, and a judicial branch.
Yeah.
Neither one of them, none of them will be tyrannical. Now that, the jury's still out on that because unfortunately the executive branch is getting more and more and more powerful. But there's a couple sources there for you. Wanted to talk to you in regards to some political solutions about some problems that are facing us. And I want to discuss this with you. I want to mention it to the audience. I told you on the phone, but I want to bring it back up because I want the audience to hear this, and then I want to get your thoughts on it. So, there's some things that I am not usually or really ever someone that has called for a regulation of some kind, but I want to bring up a hypothetical because there's an actual problem with this. So, I want to use a point to illustrate. You have 2020, right? You've got Michael Bloomberg running ads, and Tom Steyer did this too. And Tom Steyer worked a lot better than Michael Bloomberg.
Yeah.
Running ads, hey, vote for me, I'm going to be a good president. And, Tom Steyer, he had the whole thing where he would talk into the camera on Facebook or YouTube and say, I'm Tom Steyer, and I'm going to run against, Donald Trump because I can go toe-to-toe with him on the economy. I'm a businessman, and I'll expose him for what he is, a fraud and a failure. And then Bloomberg ran different ads about how I was such a good governor, and I'm a good mayor before that, and stuff like that. And then Steyer ended up on the debate stage for a long time. Then, as time went on, you have Michael Bloomberg in one debate, and it was a heck of a debate because everyone decided to attack Michael Bloomberg. So what you have is Steyer's a multimillionaire, Bloomberg's a billionaire, basically buying their way to the stage. I mean, they ran ads until they got enough people to endorse them and sign up as donors. You have to get, I think, 40,000 to make the debates,
Yep.
and then pull at a certain percentage. They basically bought their way in. So there comes a point where you have to ask yourself the question when it comes to running for office. And what was funny, too, was then later on in time, there was a debate that was only between Biden and Bernie. And they both tried to attack each other from the left. It was kind of funny. Both tried to say, you've got corporations in your pocket. And they both were pointing like the Spider-Man meme at each other. And then Bernie and Biden both tried to say, well, my average campaign contribution is smaller than yours, meaning the working class are lining up behind me. So the question becomes, okay, here's the thing. If I hear from a politician, this is just a thing that tickles my ears. It may not be true, and it may not reflect much. But if I hear someone say, I can say this about my campaign, you can't say it about your campaign, that the average campaign contribution to mine is $40 or $25, something like that. And then that person can't say that because they've got millions and billions coming in. The guy that's getting grassroots support, at least hypothetically, sounds better, right? So here's the question. I propose to you the following dilemma that we've got. How do you incentivize or legislate that? So, for example, when you've got a Bloomberg or a Steyer entering the race, and we can agree that's a bad thing, that they're basically buying their way to the stage, how do you make sure that that doesn't happen again? Do you do it by law? Do you say you're not allowed to put this much money into ads? Do we say that you can't allow contributions that are bigger than, and then what do you say? Do you say bigger than $50, bigger than $100, bigger than $1,000, bigger than $5,000? What's the number? And where do you draw that line? So I'm going to begin it with that and ask you what you think about the whole money out of politics issue, or at least limiting money in politics issue, before I present to you a plan. Go ahead.
So, getting money out of politics. Small solution, or a right off the top solution that is going to definitely have holes in it, but you don't have to have anything to be on the stage. It's based off, basically, which it still would end up with it would be money wins elections still. But here's the thing. It's all based off your connections. So, if you want to run, Josh, you can run too. You can go up to the caucuses and, go to the debates and everything else. You can run. You're probably not going to have a good. You're not going to have a good turnout because of the fact that you don't have the connections that Ron DeSantis does. So therefore, he can run more, ads because he has connections to people that know how to run ads. You, as far as I know, do not.
Sure.
You can probably make your own.
Sure.
But,
Yeah.
but you do not have, except for the only things that you could probably do is contact people on Facebook and stuff like that. So that's one of like the solutions that I have. Again, it leads to rich people and money. However, there are people. It levels the playing field in the sense of anybody can run. There's no money, and I would also put something of. I would also do this. Stop canvassing.
You would.
Yeah, it's ads. It's because that way it would level the playing field because everybody could find, essentially, everybody can find people to create ads.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody has the money to buy those ads on television and stuff like that, but essentially it is a little, if you stop canvassing, it makes it more. All right, I've got to put this in time in myself. I've got to put, I'm cool with like, putting down the flyers and everything as far as, when.
What do you mean by canvassing?
Like no door to door stuff. And
Okay.
No.
That's what I thought.
I'm done with like the campaign. Like, I'm cool with advisors and stuff like that, but like hiring people to do this stuff is getting kind of rid of it.
So let's be more specific. Like, so you would ban someone if you're driving through an intersection and see. We'll give a very real example. Vote for William Timmons.
If he's getting paid to do so, yes. Now, if it's just him within himself, as far as like, let's say, for example, let's say it's it's the election and it's Joe Biden versus Trump, and I'm out there with a sign, or you're out there with a sign, vote for Trump. You're not getting paid.
Mm-hmm.
That's just you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm cool with that, but if you're
Okay.
getting paid to do that, I have a problem with that
What's the distinction that you place?
because that's just you doing that out of your own free will. Well, I mean, you're still doing it out of your own free will, but you're doing this because of a conviction. As far as this is who you think is
So, in order to do canvassing, they have to be volunteers.
essentially yes.
They cannot be
and,
paid.
And that because again, trying to get the money out of politics because here's the thing, they have to be volunteers, and if the reason is because the money aspect of things, because the more canvassers you can hire, the more people you can reach out. It to an extent levels the playing ground a little bit. Again, I know there's holes. This is just off the the top thing.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, other than that, and then also using, just putting it all to yourself as far as like using Facebook as much as you possibly can. Using, now no ad. I would also do the thing, no Facebook ads, and if Facebook runs an ad for Trump, they've got to run for every one ad they run for Trump. They've got to run one ad for DeSantis and vice versa. For everybody that's in.
So
For everybody that has, let's say, 10% of the, total vote or whatever.
Okay.
For everybody who has 10%, for every one ad you run for Trump, you have to run for everybody that has at least 10% of the vote, because we know those are the people that, like, for example, you don't have to run one for Chris Christie because he's not going to get 10% of the vote.
So let's get specific here. So I'm someone that works for the Trump campaign.
Yeah.
I sit down at a computer and I'm told, here's some money, buy ads on Facebook. And then you're someone for DeSantis.
Yeah.
Sitting down in front of a computer. You're told, buy, let's just start with one ad.
Yeah.
One ad. This is your text. This is how much you have to pay for it. I cannot, if I have more money, pay for 5 ads and you can only pay for 1. Facebook has to allow me to put in 1 and you to put in 1. Or we both do 2. Or we both do 3. That's what you're advocating for.
That's what I'm advocating for, just because of the fact of, and I get the issue there of like, well, hey, that's not fair to the one guy. tough, because again, I'm trying to get the money out of it. If I had my way, there'd be no money involved in general. It wouldn't be about how much this person,
So people would just be able to make an ad and just pay for it to be, or and not.
I mean,
pay.
so theoretically, like, you and I weren't alive during this time, of course, but like, running for president for George Washington, that wasn't, it was basically just town square stuff. That's theoretically, as much as possible, what I want to get is like, you're voting via the town square type stuff. So that's why I'm saying, hey, you run an ad for somebody, you got to run it for this other person too, because of the fact of this is the town square voting. So does that make sense? So it's not. I don't know.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm just trying to make sure I understand. And it's probably not a bad plan. What I've heard one person propose. So this is an example of, before we even go to like the social media thing, we got to go to grassroots.
Yeah.
Bare bones basic. How does these people even have money?
Yeah.
So here's what one friend, I didn't come up with this. He came up with this plan, and I want to describe it fully, and then I want to get your thoughts.
Yeah.
So what he would advocate for is, okay, this is what you do. You decide you want to give money to the RNC, to a Republican candidate. I want to give money to a Democrat candidate. You cannot give money to Trump or DeSantis or Chris Christie or Tim Scott. You have to give money to the RNC. I cannot give money to Marianne Williamson or RFK or Biden.
Yeah.
I have to give money to the DNC. Then this is what happens. Yeah. Then this is what happens. Then it could be monthly, yearly, whatever it is. The DNC or the RNC would have to agree on the time, though. And this is what they would do. They would say, okay, candidates, we have raised this much money, and then they spread it completely evenly to all the candidates in the race. So let's just say, for the sake of faster math, I mean, because I can't do it in my head as fast, Trump, DeSantis, Scott, and Christie, 4 candidates, $100 million. They each get $25 million. Now, this is interesting. This is the other thing that he brought up, which I think is an interesting second rule. Let's say the DNC raises $200 million. Well, the Republican Party raised $120 million. So DNC, this is what you got to do. You're going to split $120 million. You're not putting in $200 million among your 3 candidates. We're keeping this fair. The RNC has reported that they've raised $120 million. They split it 4 ways. You've got to split $120 million 3 ways, and you've got to give the remaining 80 back to the people, basically. Or if you want to hold it and then, again, wait a few months and see what the RNC raises.
Yeah.
Regardless, when you run ads in a particular time period, it's the same amount of money. Now, if you have 5 candidates and they have 4, it's not going to be split completely evenly. Per candidate, the Republicans are going to have more per candidate than people with 5 candidates, right? So it's not perfect, but at least it would be closer in the sense that everyone would get this. Every candidate, whether it be Trump, the front runner, or I think maybe Nikki Haley or Vivek is the one in the very, very back. Probably Asa Hutchinson.
Except for the fact that now the RNC has control of that money. And also, you're donating to a program in that sense, not a candidate.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like, I guess, taxes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, except for this would be voluntary, of course, but it's like taxes. I'm paying taxes because, I support my military and stuff like that and everything. So, yeah, I know some of my taxes go towards some of that. But I also know my taxes go to things I don't approve of.
Sure.
Of
course.
It's like, so I know my taxes are going places I definitely don't approve of. Same with that, right? Now, again, this is voluntary, so you get to choose to do it. I understand that, so it's not exactly the same. But I still have a problem with, I'm doing this because, a portion of my money is probably going to this.
Well,
that...
Give or don't give.
Well, I mean, and I agree with that. My thing is, also, I just want money out of elections in general.
Okay.
And now how do you do that? Seems virtually impossible.
It is, because, again, as I mentioned, you run into, because this is what some people advocate for, and I agree that the status quo is unsustainable, But what they would say is, okay, individuals, they say one of two things. Individuals can give money to candidates, not corporations. Well, what do you do if an individual is an owner of a corporation?
Yeah.
Jeff Bezos comes to you. Is Amazon giving money or is Jeff Bezos giving money? This is a weird distinction. I mean, this guy, he doesn't run, he's not like the CEO anymore, but he's one of the main operating officers of Amazon. Still, people still think of Bezos when they think of Amazon. He puts in or Soros gives billions of dollars. Soros doesn't really necessarily have many corporations, but he has a massive personal fortune, right? So then you run into, okay, is this an individual putting money in? And then you run into, okay, how come you can give $100 to a candidate, but this guy can't give 1,000? Like, where do you drop the zeros? At what point is it, 1,000? Is it 5,000? Is it 10,000? How come is it 10,000 or is it 9,999? You don't know. And there's got to be a rule. And if they can figure out, okay, it's at this point, this many millions of dollars donations, that's when this gives the candidate an unfair advantage, and then actually show it to me and then prove it and it's believable, I would probably go along with it more than I would the status quo, but it would need to be fair and it would need to be smart where it wouldn't be taken advantage of.
But that's the problem.
And that's hard. That's a legitimately difficult. I bring it up only to have a discussion because to me, again, something's got to be changed. Because when you've got someone like Steyer and Bloomberg buying their way to the stage, the mega banks, the deep state, the Federal Reserve, the other people putting in all this money, there's got to be something done, and how, I'm not sure. But let us know in the comments what you think. I'm good to wrap up there if you are, because we've covered a lot of ground in this episode. So we've hit the 1 hour mark, guy, a little over it now. So remember to follow us on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. He is Celtics fan 33 on Instagram. I'm the Fog Whirlwind. You can find us Zoo Nation it's Zoo _ Nation _ on Instagram. So please follow us there. My name is Josh.
I'm Ned.
Everyone have a great evening, and thank you very much.